let my ops see the envy me. Passing it off like CP3. Shawty, she calling me MVP. I be on time, it's something you ain't never seen before. They call me the Dama, really want my whole team to score. Damn, yeah, too icy, yeah, too clean, yeah, my zone, yeah, 2-3, yeah, got shooters that hit from deep, bust like Giannis, yeah, too mean. Bright lights like we at the garden, on P, don't get me started. Whole team walk through me to party. If I can't make the play, I'ma lob it. If you jump, that's right on your head. Had to put him to sleep, go to bed. I'm a star, drop 50 and left. From the logo, like I'm Steph. Put it up, knock him down every time. Going hard like my life on the line. Catch me on the course, I would've dime. Never losing, I put it on mine. Had to get off my shit, I've been laying low. Make it real when it comes to the playoffs. You fight with me, no one's a KO.
Our head coach of our local football program, Bronco Mandel.
The details themselves with the right preparation can separate you from mediocre competitors that don't do that. And so, yeah, the attention to detail, I think, drives the execution, or should I say brings the execution to life, especially in critical moments.
Let him cook. Let him cook now. Let him cook. I said let him cook.
Welcome to another episode of the Pit Press Live, and I was trying to move my fan, and I botched that intro. I got to hit you with the triple hey.
Hey, hey!
And Robin Thicke and his creepy hey. Hey, we're coming to you live a half an hour early, just because we have a lot to get to. Tonight's guests, I'll start there and hope everybody's having an awesome week. I'll start there. 8 o'clock, Jared Chester from KRQE. 8:30, Sean Reider of the Albuquerque Journal. He's a beat reporter for UNM football. And 9 a.m., we're talking Fresno State football with GoBulldogs.com reporter Taylor Martinez. Excited to have all three of those on. We've also tried to round up every Mountain West Conference team we can think of, and we're almost there. A couple of housekeeping things, but I'll get to my first guest. No, excuse me. A member of the panel. He's a Lobo fan since 1970. The voice of the Western New Mexico Mustangs, and happy to call him a friend, Mr. Ed Nunez. And as I don't have to make this joke anymore, not to be confused with University of Houston Athletic Director Eddie Nunez.
You know what? I'm going to kind of miss that, man. I kind of enjoyed that. That was kind of fun. Oh, I got to tell you a quick story. Someone sent a colleague of my wife sent her a text saying, "Oh, I hear you're going to move to Houston. Good luck, and we'll miss you." And my wife had to text her back and say, "No, wrong Ed Nunez," but that was kind of funny.
No, that's I love that. That's hilarious. I can't make that joke anymore. And we'll get to that because that's big news over the weekend. We were going to do a live show on Sunday and we just didn't get to it. Couple of housekeeping things. Please, 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 please join us. We had a lot of people on Saturday morning, which again blew my mind. The Morning How, which is a UNM football game day pregame show. It's a mouthful. The Morning How, 9 a.m. Saturdays during the football season. You can find it on YouTube, and that'll lead me to that. Go click subscribe and like to our channel, The Pit Press. On YouTube. Boy, I'm slacking here tonight. Got to bring up the energy. Go check us out there, and we will also be, I hope you guys can see this. Let me remove that. We're going to be at Turquoise Desert Tap Room on Thursday night, August 22nd. We're giving away 2 free tickets there, and we'll be doing the show live from there as well. Eric and Ed, I don't know if you're going. Eric and I will be there. Looking forward to that. We love Armando over there. But again, we're giving away 2 tickets to all 5 home games this year for UNM football. So again, very excited for that. Turquoise Desert Tap Room, as I always say, will be a hop, skip, and jump away from. It's a hop, skip, and jump away from Santa Ana Star Casino and Hotel. Go make a bet. Don't bet what I do. Head over to Turquoise Desert Tap Room, have a beer, have dinner, and watch your bet win. We have a lot to get to tonight. We are 4, as I go back to that branding, 4 days away from the kickoff of the UNM football season. And right before that happens, and Ed, why I'm having you on, Eddie Nunez has bolted for the University of Houston on a $5 million deal. We kind of talked about it last week when there were grumblings. The Journal reported, Jeff Grammer of the Journal seemed to know. I had heard that he was gone, and it was true. Just didn't run with it. But now that he is officially gone, Ed Nunez, what are your thoughts on Eddie Nunez leaving for the University of Houston?
Well, a report in the paper says today that the University of Houston owes UNM $150,000 for the buyout of Eddie's contract. Eddie Nunez will make $1 million per year at the University of Houston, according to the Houston Chronicle. So, I think yesterday when you and I were at the press conference for Bronco Mendenhall, the press conference at the Todine facility at the over there at the football complex, I think it brought things a little bit more to light about Eddie leaving. We had a chance to sit down and talk to Associate Athletic Director Dave Williams for a while, and that conversation, you might want to get into that later, was enlightening and interesting to me about what his thoughts were. And he sat down and gave us a few minutes along with, we're sitting there with Ned James and Van Tate. And I found that conversation interesting about what he thought. Now, Eddie, in 7 years, has been here since 2017. I like Eddie a lot. I do. I really do. I had a chance to interview him a couple, actually several years ago now, seems like, on the sports desk with Scott Galletti. I thought after Paul Krebs, they needed a guy that was out front, transparent, a glad handler, and I don't think anybody glad handled better than Eddie. If you look at the accomplishments, the GPA went up. How many conference championships did they win? They won. He got more money, more revenue, more things for the university. I thought he did a great job here. I saw some comments online. I thought pretty much everybody agreed. There's a few dissenters. You're not always going to get 100%. But I think it's going to be very interesting to me in the days that come forward, in the days, the weeks ahead. What are they going to do? A new AD, if they pick out, if they go nationwide and they go with the new athletic director, a new AD may come in here, have his own ideas. That they do. Paul Krebs came in here, wanted to replace Rocky Long. Bad decision. And that still is resonating even today. So I'm very interested to see what they're going to do next. Who are they going to name as an interim AD? How long will it take? But as far as Eddie Nunez and what he did here in 7 years, I thought he did a really good job. And I'm going to miss him. I liked him. When I saw him, I just saw him at the Greg Brown's memorial, went up, shook his hand, always cordial, always respectful of others. And so after Paul Krebs, I thought, Paul Krebs tenure, especially the last couple of years, the Scottish golf trip, things like that, Scotland, that was a disaster. I thought I thought Eddie did a good job, Ryan, and I'm sorry to see him go, but I'm happy for him. He's gonna, he's going to the University of Houston. He's going to be making $1 million a year. Good for him.
Here's that before we get into the Dave Williams, who I actually enjoyed sitting down and talking to, and it was when he sat down, I knew what he was doing. This is, let me bring this up. Joseph Duarte. Don't know who he is. I apologize for that. But here is contract details for Eddie Nunez as he takes over the University of Houston, obtained by the Houston Chronicle. And that's open records. You are a public employee. Annual salary is $900,000 over the next year. Year 2 is $950,000. Year 3 is $1 million. Year 4 is an additional $50,000. And year 5 is an additional $100,000. You cannot tell me in your right mind you wouldn't do it. It is what it is. However, Dave Williams, I liked Eddie Nunez. Make my points clear here. I enjoyed Eddie Nunez. I would like to say that for somebody at the Daily Lobo who covered Paul Krebs, and Paul Krebs was kind of a dick. I know that's a bold statement. I feel like Jon Stewart calling Tucker Carlson a dick, but I never had a one-on-one like John did. We weren't talking politics. Paul Krebs was a very reserved guy. I understand his personality. I just felt a man in that position should probably be a little bit more open. I go back to my buddy Isaac, who had done a great job, who I worked with. And he mostly pissed that department off and did a good job reporting. I saw Paul Krebs, I think, after they won the bowl game. I was walking down somewhere, and I kind of congratulated him, and I think he knew who I was, and it was like, well, I wasn't working at the paper at the time. But very standoffish. I don't know. The man found Urban Meyer at Bowling Green, and he hired Steve Alford at UNM. And I think he thought he had struck gold with Mike Locksley. Yeah, I don't think that he could have anticipated Mike Locksley living at TD's or Imbibe. But that's what it was. I thought Locksley, I think you look back, Locksley was going to come in here and turn this thing around, or, have a high flying offense in 2 or 3 years, and he was gone. He probably should have been fired his first year. That's how much of a disaster it is. Dave Williams sat down with us at the press conference yesterday, and he was politicking with us, and I actually enjoyed it. There was a line in Ghostbusters 2 where Bill Murray runs into the mayor from the first movie because they saved the city, and Bill Murray tells him, they got stiffed on the bill for saving the city. They got screwed over, and they got sued by every county, city, state agency in the state of New York. And Bill Murray looks at him, at the mayor, as he's walking by, and he gets stopped by one of his the great comedic actor. I can't think of his name. And Bill Murray kind of at the end of the scene says, aren't you supposed to lie to me? And, you're a politician. Aren't you supposed to lie to me and kiss my butt? I liked what Dave Williams did. I'm glad he sat down and he talked to us. I don't know if he necessarily knew who I was, and I think he knows who you are. But he made some case and points that they want somebody from New Mexico. I understand that it's going to be a conflict of topic here, but I don't necessarily think it has to be somebody from New Mexico. You have to do the national search. You have to interview people. It's terrible to base my 5-10 minutes with Dave Williams, but if we start a relationship with him, it helps us out. I think he'd be good. He said he was instrumental in helping Eddie Nunez become an AD. Look how he helped Eddie Nunez. He's been a AD at other schools, Division II, and he's probably responsible for Richard Pitino and the hiring of Bronco Mendenhall. Not taking anything away from Eddie. I'm sure it's Eddie's final say, but there you go, Lobo fan. I wanted to get to the comments real quick. P-Dog 606, nice South Park. Oh, you know what? I didn't even do it. I'll have to do it when Jared comes on, or Rick. My breaking news that I see that South Park thing, because I queued something up from South Park. Ed Nunez should replace Eddie Nunez for AD. Seriously, though, why Houston? Why? I mean, again, it's a Big 12 school. Oh my God, Kelvin Sampson, right? They've been the number one team for the last, in and out of the top 5 for the last, 2, 3, 4 years. They made a Final Four in 2021. Season tickets all for me. Yes, John Romero. Football runs the money train. Ronnie Chavez, Eddie Nunez, I know did what he could here and what he had, but Bronco might be his best hire football wise. And we still have to see if that comes to fruition. That is very true. Middle finger, Loxley ruined Lobo football. I got to leave that up. I curse a lot on the show. I own the company. Both Ed Nunez is our class with a capital C, even though Ed treated Aggie football like thugs for New Mexico Bowl. Wish them all the success in the world. You use the word thugs, not me. And they made me a lot of money last year. The old Aggies is wobbling in their shoes. Ed, did you kind of, for Dave Williams, I don't know, I'm not up to speed on all that stuff and who they could hire as an athletic director. I've mentioned this. Eddie Nunez was very nice to me. He's cordial. I had him on my radio show on KNML when I was taken a little bit more seriously before I started my own company. But I always thought he was a nice guy, and piggybacking off Paul Krebs and I told him on my radio show, which probably wasn't the best thing, but to go from Paul Krebs to him was night and day. It was pleasant. He was very, very nice to my mom and my son at the last fall game last year, the last practice, which was the fall scrimmage, about a week before the first game, before they went to Texas A&M. He handed a football to Aiden. He's a dad. He understands it. I thought that meant a lot to me. And my mom was like, wow, he's, a really nice guy. And that was different to me, given that there weren't a lot of people there. It just, I don't know, that resonated with me. But yeah, I wish him the best of luck. He's making a lot of money. I don't know how you can turn that down. And I know Lobo fans are going to bitch, just like they bitched to us that Texas Tech was a lateral move. Get out of here with that. Ed, I don't know, I pose this question to you. You might have a new AD that comes in here with new ideas. If it's not Dave Williams, you had Richard Pitino here. Is that a question mark? Is that a question mark for Bronco Mendenhall? That's why he's here. I don't know your thoughts on that. Because you had kind of mentioned that to me when Eddie left.
One of the things that I want to circle back to what Dave Williams said yesterday. He did I'll circle back to that real quick, and then I'll answer your question. But Dave Williams did say that he's very interested in the job, and he wasn't sure about if they wanted to hire somebody that's a New Mexican. He wasn't sure, but he was quick to make his case about how long he's been in New Mexico. His son went to law school here. Son's at Hope. He wanted to make sure that case was made. Again, I appreciate. I've always said hi to Dave. I do PA for UNM, occasionally, and he's come up one time. He said, "Hey, you sound real good up there." I don't know that he knows, but he's seen me. Whenever I've seen him, I've always shaken his hand. But I don't know if he really knows my name. But anyway, I think going back to ADs, I'll give you an example. The athletic director at Western New Mexico took over. That's when I became the voice, 4 or 5 years ago now. And he had different ideas than the first athletic director there. He's a mover and shaker, and he wanted things done a different way. And, he got things going. He's still there now. So I think anytime a new athletic director comes in, they're going to have their own ideas and their own guys and their own people, their own women that they may want to hire as coaches. So they have completely different ideas than the former regime. And sometimes that's good and sometimes that's bad. But I think one of the things that Dave Williams said yesterday was about continuity. And that's what he said he could provide if he's given the chance to get the position. I don't know if Ed Manzanares, the associate athletic director or the athletic director under Dave Williams, he may want to apply as well. So I think to your question there, Ryan, anytime a new athletic director comes on, there's always different ideas and different directions they want to go in. coaches they want to hire, people that they know. That's Eddie. Eddie knew different people, and so anytime a new athletic director comes on, and we'll see if they do hire one, you don't know what that person has in mind as far as what their goals and objectives are when they're hired. So we'll have to see. There's still a lot of things that that are in question.
And happy that this gentleman joined us all the way from the Bay Area. He's a two-time offensive state lineman for San Juan Mendoza and our St. Pius the Sardins, who open up against West Mesa Community Stadium this Saturday. Played for Damian Segura at Pius and survived Disneyland with his daughter. His name's Rick Thompson.
Richard.
Rick, how you doing?
Gentlemen, how we doing? I'm doing well. Sorry for the late start here. I got called immediately to go to the swimming pool after sitting in traffic for an hour. So it was a full day of solving financial problems for the great city of San Francisco, but I'm ready to do some fun talk here. Thanks for having me on.
I'm going to go to you. You're a much smarter man than I, and an MBA from UNM. Your thoughts on Eddie Nunez, and maybe you should apply for the job.
Definitely not I. But sorry, I missed if you guys kind of went over this. But when I think of Eddie's legacy at UNM, when you look at what he inherited in 2017, it was probably one of the worst situations possible you can walk into as a new AD, right? There was two pending cases against Paul Krebs and one against a basketball staffer in the athletic department. And the budget in the athletic department had been out of balance for 13 of the last 14 years leading up to that point. So this is what Eddie walked into. And immediately upon walking onto the job, he's hit with having to eliminate some sports in the program. And he has to eliminate soccer, one of the most popular sports in the program. That's one of his first jobs. So, he's walking straight into the flames. And I think what he's done what he did was get the NIL program rolling. He leaves it in good hands, it looks like now, with a NIL staff within the athletic department focusing on that. So he was always planning ahead. And I think he leaves, UNM in a good position. But the one thing he wasn't able to accomplish that the next AD, whoever it is, will be tasked with is bringing this football team back to relevancy. And the big part of that to me is raising the funds to do that. If you look around the Mountain West Conference at the facilities and the money being raised, New Mexico is at the bottom. And if they don't start providing some of the resources that these other schools do, then I think it's going to be hard for the football team to ever turn around, regardless of who the AD is. So that's still going to be a tall task for whoever steps in. But with Kurt Roth heading the way, I think whoever steps in is going to be in a really good position. So I'm sad to see Eddie go, but at the same time, I don't feel like we're anywhere near the position we were in as when he took over in 2017. So I'm just grateful for the effort he put in, but there's still a lot of work to be done in my eyes, with conference realignment on the horizon, NIL deals being a cloud over everything. So those are my quick thoughts, but it'll be interesting to see who they narrow the search down to. I heard JJ Buck and you guys mentioning some candidates. I don't know myself. I haven't been able to really look into that, but whoever it is, I think it'll be, a good program for them to take over. So I'm looking forward to see who it will be.
I think the Lobo Club, head of the Lobo Club is Jalen Dominguez. I hope I have that right. Yeah, Jalen Dominguez. I think his name was thrown out there. I know Eric knows him. I've never met him. I've heard good things for somebody who talks a lot of shit about UNM. I've heard he's always walking around. I know the face. He's always walking around saying hi. I mean, he's working with the Lobo Club, but that might be a good thing. Yeah, you kind of mentioned what I think Eddie kind of got a bad rap by getting rid of the men's soccer team right away, but I mean, it was necessary. And for the mess that Krebs had left, Yeah, he did a very good job. And I know I mentioned it and I know I'm repeating myself, but night and day. There were a few people in town that I talked to that didn't really care for Eddie. I did. I thought he did a great job.
And I mean, he also had to live doing his job with those two felony indictments hanging over the program's head up until just recently, right? So this whole period, he's having that stress on top of everything else he's accomplished, and obviously he really got what I see is the booster and the funding for athletics going again at a time when there was very little. So it'll be interesting, to see what he does with the much bigger pocketbook at Houston with the Fortune 500 companies, and the population of that city outnumbers New Mexico as a whole. So much more resources, a lot more pressure for him. But it'll be interesting to see if in New Mexico they're able to get some type of long-term corporate sponsors with the small amount of really profit or bigger companies in the state.
Can I make one point real quick, Ryan?
Go ahead, Ed.
Rick, that's a really good point. Bob Brown, the guy that used to host the locker room on 101.7, the team would always talk about New Mexico not having that old money, and they don't. They really don't. And that's a great point. It doesn't matter how many wins you get. They need that money. They need, they need to raise that revenue. And that's not an easy task. But maybe if you win some games and people see, right, what the ultimate goal is, you have to improve that stadium. We can't talk about it now because they haven't won. People aren't going to say, yeah, let's put money into a program until they see it win. That's bottom line. The other thing I want to say, and I think Rick brought up a good point with Eddie with the football program. Let's remember they had to play in Las Vegas, and we had Danny on, Coach Gonzalez on last year, Ryan, when he said they didn't even have any weights to lift. They had 25-pound barbells they're lifted with. They couldn't ship anything in. So they had to play under strict COVID conditions. Eddie had to deal with that. That wasn't easy. And I think that put the football program back at least a year, maybe more. Coach Gonzalez tried his best out there. It wasn't easy. The state had those restrictions. And so Eddie had to deal with that too. And along with the financial things you mentioned, Rick. So I think all those things considered, I give the guy an A+, man. I do. It's tough to be an AD in these times. And I thought he did a great job. He's going to be missed. And I think the other thing, Ryan, one more point. You mentioned Paul Krebs. Now, I got to tell you a story about Yvonne Sanchez, the former UNM women's coach, who I like a lot, a very good friend. And I would say, okay, how is he with you? Wouldn't even look up from his text. Go like this to her. Wouldn't even look up. She talked to him. This is what she said. And I know she wouldn't lie to me. There's no reason she would. He wouldn't even look up, just text and nod at her. So I think Eddie at least at least you could talk to the guy, right? I thought that made a difference. And, he wasn't arrogant. I never saw that. Maybe some people thought that. But I thought he did a great job and was a great communicator. So whoever's next, they've got some big shoes to fill. They do. I thought he did a good job. I really did.
You're on mute.
On mute. My bad, guys. I was queuing something up for Rick. We were talking yesterday, Ed. I had mentioned when we were at the paper with all the Loxley bullshit, we had to get a comment from, it's part of journalism. We had to get a comment from Paul Krebs. Well, Isaac had his number and he blocked Isaac's number. So we had a two call Paul rule where I would call him twice and Isaac would call him twice to get a comment. And he had finally blocked my number. It's kind of crazy as a student journalist, you're calling the athletic director who's not so friendly. But I understood why he wasn't to us. And we nicknamed the game Paulie Want a Cracker, Ed. And I mentioned that to you yesterday, trying to get a hold of Paul Krebs for comment when Loxley did something stupid or anything in regards to UNM athletics that pertain to off the field stuff. So Rick, this is a bad transition. I'll bring Jared in on here in a second. I'm glad he jumped on this. So Rick, I typed in University of Houston and I got I got notable alumni and I got this.
I didn't know that Slim Thug was alumni of
the
University of Houston.
Paul Wall.
Paul Wall.
So
It's an
that's for you.
iconic song. Thank you.
Who is that?
Paul Wall, baby.
So
Okay, I got to ask my son about that. I don't know nothing about
it's
it.
after, before your son's time, Ed.
Even before his time too, huh? All right, man. Wow.
Still
All right.
still tipping on 4-4s. Man, I sound so white. Still tipping on
Wow.
4-4. I don't know. Somebody's going to correct me. All right, we're going to take a quick commercial break and bring in Jared Chester, baby.
Let him cook. Let him cook now. Let him cook. I said let him cook.
Welcome back to the show. My name is Ryan Tamori. Joined by Rick Thompson,
Richard.
and Ed Nunez, and I'm happy to bring our first guest on of this jam-packed show this evening. I don't have any technical difficulties tonight, Jared. He's
Here.
Van Tate's he's Van Tate's Batman to your Rob. No, I said that right. You're Robin to his Batman. Anyway, I love this guy. Jared Chester, sports anchor reporter from KRQE, or as I like to call, or as he likes to call himself, Chet the Rocket Stedman.
There you go.
Chet, how you doing tonight?
Great, man. I'm happy to be on.
I save myself?
I love being on the pod. You guys rock. I will say that.
Well, we're
Thanks for
live
coming on,
now,
Jared.
but we
Nice
appreciate you.
to
I mean,
meet you.
Yeah. All you guys rock.
So I'll start here. Rocket, is Eddie Nunez leaving? Your thoughts?
Well, all right. So Eddie was obviously it's a tough loss. Don't get me wrong. I mean, he did so much for the program, for UNM in general, in a time of disarray, I guess. I mean, he came on during a difficult time, and he had to he had to get rid of soccer, which was one of the best athletic programs in UNM athletics, but he did it with such finesse, and he brought in great coaches. I mean, he did. It's a big blow to to UNM's athletics, but at the same time, good for him, man. He deserves it. He deserves to move on. He's a really good guy too. I mean, you guys have met him too. He's such a good guy. So I wish nothing but good things for him.
I don't think you would turn down about $1 million a year to move to Texas. I know I wouldn't. He's got his work cut out for him there. But we were just talking about that before you hopped on. So appreciate your thoughts on that. But hey, I'm sure you're amped because we're only 4 days away from football. What do you, from kind of the limited access us media members have had, and we're vultures near the craft food services table, what have you taken away from the last time we talked in Vegas, with your dad, who, by the way, is fucking
The man.
awesome. Pleasure to meet him. Yes. What have you taken away since media days, the start of fall camp, to 3.5 days away from this first game for UNM against Montana State?
I know it sounds cheesy, but optimism is a very big word that I get from anybody that interview at after the limited practice I get to watch. Everyone seems very fired up. Bronco is such a different coach than I've ever had to deal with in my career, my 10-year career. But he, I don't know. I feel like this team is fired up, and I really do believe that they feel like they can do something this year. And it has me believing too. I don't know. I've seen some of the athletes. They have some good athletes. I'm really a big fan of Devin Dampier, and I'm a big fan of the receiving core. I mean, obviously Andrew Henry at running back. I mean, it's I don't know, man. I honestly think this team might be dangerous. I know that they lost a lot of their I mean, the entire O-line, but I feel like the core that I see coming now, I don't know, they're bought in. So optimism is what I'm basically trying to say. Yeah, that's what I get from it.
I will open up questions to these guys next, but I have never covered anybody like Bronco Mendenhall either. I went from Rocky Long, Loxley, Bob Davie. I only dealt with Bob Davie a little bit. Steve Alford was fantastic. Steve Alford was a politician, and that's what the feeling I get from Bronco Mendenhall. And Ed mentions it. He's calm, cool, and collected. We were at the press conference yesterday, and the way they had it set up this year, we could barely hear him. I don't know how you describe his demeanor, but I don't know where I'm going with this comment or question, but I haven't covered anybody like him either.
I would say calculated. I feel like he's very calculated.
Yes.
Jared, when you're out there at practice for these limited times, yesterday in his presser, he's saying during the game he doesn't want to be saying anything, because if he's saying things, that means he's have to correct things on the field. If he's silent, that means the players are doing the talking themselves. But when they're at practice, is his demeanor any different? Like, is there ever or is it always this, calm, collected, or is there ever moments where he's going to scream at someone or tell them, to get on the line and the stuff we see in movies from a hard-nosed coach? Is there any of that?
Well, like Ryan was saying, it's very, I'm very limited in the time I'm able to watch practice, but I will say that I feel like he has this ambiance of respect, and I feel like every player wants to, which I think every coach should have, they need to have this type of ambiance around them where they want to win for them. They want to run through a wall for him. Mm-hmm. And I feel like Bronco emits that to a T, dude. Like, he is so, I don't know, man. He is, like, he fires me up even when he barely speaks. So I feel like he's getting the most out of those players. And I do see this, like, to what you were saying. Yes, I feel like the players do react to that in a positive manner. And I feel like, I don't know, from the little I've seen, it does look very positive. I will say that. It's good. It's more positive from the years past that I've seen with Davey and Danny G, who I love. I mean, I liked everything about those coaches. There's little pieces I loved about those coaches, but it just feels different this year. It's tough to explain, but I feel like he does have that X factor that is going to push us over the top,
It's kind of funny the way he talks. You mentioned that, Ryan and I said that, calculated, precise. He doesn't wear. I've been around a lot of coaches, a lot of athletes, and there's some coaches, when you're done talking to him, you're like, man, I want to go suit up and play. And he doesn't give you that. He does it. He's gonna. He said this. I heard them say this on the opening drive yesterday. Be at your best when your best is needed. Almost like Woodson, preparing to fail is failing to prepare, things like that. So when I heard that, I'm like, okay, but he says things calm, no emotion, right? At least to the media. So I think Rick's question is a legitimate one there. But I got to ask you this. You mentioned I think they have talent too. I'm optimistic, but I'm always the Lobo fan that might have the glass half full, no matter what the situation is. Now, you've been limited in practice, what you've been able to see. What about the offense? You mentioned the O-line. They've lost a lot, but they seem to be, at least what I've been reading, a cohesive unit. What about the defensive line? The games are won at the line of scrimmage, Jared. Montana State's coming in. They're going to try to run the ball down New Mexico's throat. And you're limited time and watching, what do you think about the defensive line and what you've seen, the defensive front seven?
So I will say this. Yes, I know. I've been reading a lot more on Montana State. I know they have a lot of returning, offensive threats. And I know that they've been in the top 3 for the past few years in the FCS. And yes, I understand they're 10.5 dogs. Sorry, that's ridiculous to me. But I'm just telling you,
It's 11
I feel like
and a half.
Sorry, what'd you say?
It's now 11 and a half.
Oh my gosh. That's ridiculous to me. Sorry.
Yeah.
But yes, I do feel like the defensive, yes, I understand games are won in the trenches. Like, I get that. I do. And I feel like the defensive side of the ball, they have some big dudes up front. I mean, he's brought in some guys. I mean, I don't have the roster in front of me. I can't name guys, but just for me watching, it seems very positive. I will say that. And I know they have some studs. They've gotten some guys, I know not up front, but in the backfield and like the secondary that are very good. And I don't know, I'm feeling very positive from that point of view. I feel like in Lobo Athletics, I'm sorry, I'm kind of switching the narrative here, but I feel like we've always just depended on a quarterback. We've never had a quarterback, but I feel like Devin Dampier is a good quarterback, and I feel like we've always been good on defense, and I feel like that's always been something that we need to be that next tier. To get to that next level is have a good quarterback, and I honestly do feel like Devin Dampier could be that guy. But sorry, getting off track, I honestly do think that the way that Bronco runs practices and how it's so, I don't know, man, it's almost like combat, like military. Like, I feel like this defense is going to be tough too.
I would love that, because I've mentioned a lot how I would love to see them play the smash mouth football again. One of the questions that I asked Dave Williams yesterday at the press conference to his face was, how many people do you expect on Saturday at the game? Because we know attendance there has been a big question of the past. I think I get you're on FS1. You can't turn away that national audience. All eyes will be on it because, oh God, I hate saying that, because there's only 4 games that day.
Yeah.
So you've got the gamblers and you've got the guys who, the fans that like smaller schools, group of 5 FCS. I've started watching Love FCS. I'm in love with this Montana State team. Maybe I should go marry them. But what do you expect for the attendance on Saturday?
That's a big question. I've had a lot of people ask me that too. You just don't know with New Mexico fans, man. You really don't. I mean, any athletic event, you don't know. I would hope, just me being optimistic that a lot of people would buy into this team. But I have no idea. You have no idea. This sounds bad, but I call New Mexico fans Goldilocks fans. It's almost like, oh, it's too hot outside, so I won't go. Oh, it's perfectly warm. You know what? But I'd rather stay inside. Oh, it's too cold. It's just you never know what you're going to get. So I really do hope that they rally around this team, though.
And the thing is, when Ed has talked about it previously, after they play this first home game, they don't have another home game for, what is it, like a month? And they got to go away to probably 2 probable losses. People might not be too enthralled at that point in time. So yeah, it's going to be hard to get people out in the sun though. But I enjoy the Goldilocks reference, Jared. I couldn't agree more.
I like that. But I would also like to say that I hope that people go into it with not low expectations, but actual, like, just common sense, like legitimate expectations when it comes to he's taken over a new program. Look what we've done in the past. I really think he could do something. Just from my short time talking with him, I think he could do something really big with this program. And I think that they're going to honestly exceed expectations, but I'm not talking, national championship. Not even a Mountain West championship, but I think that they will exceed expectations. And I hope fans understand that.
When you say that, they're predicted to win 2.5 games, something like that.
Yeah.
Do you have I've got them at 4. I'll say 4.
Game and a
4
half.
wins.
Game and a half.
Yeah. Okay. Game and a half. So I was wrong. They're predicted to win a game and a half. Now, and Ryan's asked this question. What if they're 0-12 or 1-12? My thing is this though: is there improvement going in that we can say, hey, you know what? This is a much better team. They look better. They're coached better. So we'll see how that all plays out. Do you have a number that you see them winning this year?
Honestly, I'm saying I've had people say 4, over under 4. I'm saying over 4. I know it sounds ridiculous, but I really do think that they are going to win more than 4 games. I mean, if you look at their schedule, this is the prime time in the Mountain West because there's a lot of shifting and changing going on in the Mountain West. I think this is the prime time for the Lobos and definitely Bronco Mendenhall to set his stamp and say, hey, we're going to win games because there's multiple teams that have new coaches, a lot of rebuilding. And I think that from what I've seen, I think that this Lobo team has already hit that mark, that they are going to be able to step up to the plate and win a few games. Hey, I may have pie in my face at the end of the year, but I'm telling you from what I'm feeling, it's just a gut feeling. I think they're going to win more than 4 games.
No, my job is to be the clown. Was there anybody, they don't get Boise State and UNLV this year. Was there anybody that you met at Mountain West Conference Media Days that you were like, okay, this is going to be Mountain West Conference, anybody aside from UNM, but anybody that you talked to during Mountain West Conference Football Media Days, which was, already over a month ago when we were there. But was there anybody that you spoke to that you took away from, you're like, man, that guy was cool to talk to, a coach or a player?
I mean, honestly, man, I really enjoy talking to everybody. So I feel like I have not tooting my own horn, but I have a way about me where I could just talk to people and make it more conversational, get to know them. So I know it's cheesy, but everybody I talked to, I feel like was just very interesting. So I don't have a straight answer for you for that, but every athlete I talk to, it's just cool to get to know every single one of them. Sorry, I know I didn't answer your question, but yeah.
How about
no, it's all right. I like.
Go ahead, Ryan.
Go ahead, Ed.
How about the I don't know if you got the chance to talk to the kid from Boise State. What was his name, Ryan? The guy from Egypt. Did you get a chance to talk
defensive
to him?
lineman? Yeah. Ahmed Hassanin.
Yeah, did you get a chance to talk? I think he really impressed at least me. I think Ryan too, with his story about coming here to play, football, and he never knew anything about it, and he's throwing everybody around, grabbing their face masks and getting penalties. And I think the funniest thing that Ryan asked him, we asked him how was the adjustment to America, and he says he didn't get American sarcasm. That made us laugh because Americans are some of the most sarcastic people there is in the world, man. And he said when they're sarcastic with him, he doesn't know what to say. But I'll tell you what, he'll learn. The more he's around Americans, man, he'll learn one way or the other. But I think that's one guy that I really was like, look at this story, man. Didn't know anything about football, and then all of a sudden he's a pro prospect, 12.5 sacks on the edge last year, and might be a high draft pick next year in the NFL. Great American story, I thought.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. When it comes to sarcasm, that's my whole humor, so you didn't get it. But I will say that if you talk to the kid too, I'm sure you guys felt this way too. It didn't seem like he was a top prospect. He was just a very humble guy, and he was well-spoken. He very PC, which you guys understand when you talk to players, like they don't tell you everything they want to know, which is okay. But I feel like I got a really good vibe from him because, like I said, he's not that type of guy that is going to be like, I'm the best, blah, 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 which I do love. And being a sports guy for as long as I have, that's the best, man. I hate when you talk to people and they talk in the third person, oh, gosh. So it's yeah, he was a pleasure to talk to.
You know, the wide receiver from UNLV, Ricky White, was the same way. I really enjoyed Brian and I really enjoyed him because he's, you know, just putting in the work. Yes, sir. No, sir. Really, really great. And he's, had a great season last year, almost 1,500 yards in receptions, and was just talking about the work he puts in and is trying to get better. Jackson Woodard, the linebacker from UNLV, really enjoyed that guy. I don't think there was one player we interviewed that we didn't enjoy. You know, they were none of them were in the third person. Like, you know, none of them were real cocky. The ones that they sent were all really good representatives of their university, and just looking forward to getting out there and hitting somebody, man. You know, so I enjoyed it. I really did.
Yeah, I feel like that's the best thing about the Mountain West Conference is because you get a lot of these kids that definitely have the potential to be a star, like in the Power Four now conferences, but they just didn't get a look. So they come here, and this is their chance to make a name for themselves. And I feel like we get the best in the Mountain West Conference. I feel like we get the best type of human beings / athletes that come in here that literally do have all the attributes to be very great, but you know what? They may have not gotten the chance, and now it's their time to shine. So I feel very in my position from what I've done over the past 10 years of covering athletes from the Mountain West Conference. Just yeah, it's cool to interact with a lot of these people.
Finally, we're joined by Jared Chester, KRQE, aka Chet Stedman. What do you think about the new look Bears? The Bears.
The Bears, man. I mean, you can't get too excited, but I am. I'm sorry. Watching Caleb Williams was awesome. I am hyped. It was awesome, but at the same time, got to wait till, week 1. We'll see what happens.
That throw the other day was awesome.
Yeah,
he is Jared Chester from.
Yeah, he looked pretty good. That's all I want to say in preseason. So you must. How about what did your dad say, man? What did he say?
Oh, he's hyped too. I mean, he's just, I don't know. He's such an old school guy. He just hates like some of the runs they play. He's just all run and shoot, man. It cracks me up. That's all he brings it back to because that's what he ran in college. And obviously he played in the pros. He was a, practice squad guy, but still, I don't know. He's one of those old school football heads that talks about, back in my day.
You better soak some of that up, Jared. We got pro quarterbacks crying about coaches yelling at them. We got to keep those hard football guys. Where there's too many soft kids out there these days. So
exactly,
keep that hardness going.
I love your pop, man. He's a good guy. I mean, him had great conversations up there in Vegas, man. We did.
Yeah. He still talks about it. We had a good time out there.
No, we did. We did.
Bud Light and Jaeger. He's Jared Chester from KRQE. He's a sports anchor reporter over there. Jared, I'm happy to call you a friend. I really am, and I want to thank you for always making time to join us. You and I kind of got the same nonchalant sense of humor, so I always appreciate it, and I've known Van forever. So you guys are my favorite sports tandem in town. I get sports TV personalities in town. I don't know if that means anything to you, but anyway, appreciate your time, man. And I will see you around later. I'll bug you. I always text you some bullshit. So appreciate you, man.
Thanks, Jared.
Enjoy the rest of your time off. That is Jared.
Thanks, Jared.
Yep. That is Jared Chester from KRQE. Love talking to him. His dad was awesome in Vegas. Having a really good time there. I'm going to take a quick break. We're going to recap that, and then Sean Reider from the Albuquerque will be joining us. My name is Ryan Smorey. Ed Nunez, Rick Thompson. This is the Pit Press Live.
Our head coach of our local football program, Bronco Mental.
The details themselves with the right preparation can separate you from mediocre competitors that don't do that. And so, the attention to detail, I think, drives the execution, or should I say brings the execution to life, especially in critical moments.
Welcome back to the Pit Press Live. My name is Ryan Tamori. I'm joined by Ed Nunez,
Richard,
and Ricky Thompson. Jared, we were talking about, we've kind of talked about the same thing for well over a month now because of we don't know what this team is, and we're now 4 days away from the start of the season with Montana State. I kind of, again, I'm up and down. I'm a roller coaster, and I hear Jared's optimism. I love Jared. He's great at his job, but when we have Sean on, Sean's sole job is to cover this football team, and we might get a little bit more in-depth answer, but Jared's around it a lot. Was there anything away, Rick, I'll start with you. Was there anything that you took away from what Jared mentioned or said?
Yeah, I love having Jared on the show. One of my favorite interviews. But just when you listen to someone like him that's been around the team as long as he has, he said 10 years, and you hear the true optimism in his voice and the changes that he sees, that kind of brings hope to me. I know at this time in the season, everyone, thinks their team's the best. Everyone looks the best in spring camp. So everyone can be hopeful. But when you hear someone like Jared, break down some of what he's seeing out there and just the experience he's had with other coaches, it makes me hopeful. And I think other fans should be hopeful too. And I really enjoyed his commentary about fans being Goldilocks fans in Albuquerque, because I find that to be true as well. Ed, what did you think about it, man?
You know what, Rick, that's a great point, the Goldilocks point. Bob Brown, again, I'll go back to Bob, always said, if you're a football school, you're there at 12, 4, and 7, whenever the game's at. And this Lobo football, crowd, and I think the thing that worries me, if they lose on Saturday, will they come back? Because then you got Arizona and Auburn, and those are going to be some tough games, for them to win. So I want to keep that sense of optimism. And I'll say what Jared said. I would say it was guarded optimism, because he's not been able to see a lot. He's seen what, it's in little blocks of time. But he's optimistic, but it's guarded. He's not real sure, but what he's heard. He's seen some stuff, but I think he's got some guarded optimism about the program. But I think coaching-wise, at least what we've heard, the players have bought in. It seems to be moving in the right direction. But Montana State, man, 11-point favorites now, 11-5. Is that what you said, Ryan?
Say that again. It's 11.5.
11.5. And will it move more? This is only Tuesday. Will we see a 12-point advantage, or even a 13 before kickoff? But here's the thing. I think a lot of money. If you look at and you sent the notes, Ryan, about Montana State, they're a good team. 4 straight winning seasons. They've got a very good team and a good coach. I'm surprised. I don't know how long that coach will be there before he starts looking. Brad Lingen, what's his name? Brad Lingen. Yeah,
that was Virgin.
Brett Virgin.
Brad Virgin has got. He's got a very good record there. They're a good team. That's why I think nobody knows about New Mexico. So I think Coach Mendenhall is looking. Is that okay? Well, you know what? That's good for us. Nobody knows about us. Let's show them. And he's talked about execution, preparation and execution when you need it the most. So I'm imagining that they practice those situations. And Rick, you played football. You know about that. Can they execute when they need it? And that's the key. The third down and short play, things like that. Can they make adjustments on defense? There's so many things. You know all about that. So I think Jared, like I said, was just kind of optimistic, but kind of cautiously optimistic, because he hasn't seen a whole lot.
So I asked Jacob Neff at NM Sports Capper, our in-house gambling expert. I said, I just texted him. I said, do you think the line could move to 13 or 13.5? And he said, that's unreal if it does, but yeah, we still have 5 days. It opened up at 4.5 on July 9th when we got there, July 8th. Yeah, July 9th. And it is now 11.5, which blows our damn mind. In a moment here, and I'm going to go to him from the Albuquerque Journal. He is a beat writer and proud member of Sparty. His name is Sean Reider. Senor, how are you doing?
I'm good. How are we doing today, guys?
Oh, we're hanging in there. How's
What's up?
Yeah, just saying hi.
I think he asked. We were all talking at once. I think he asked how you were doing. At least I don't have technical difficulties this time, so I'm much happy about that. I'm much more happier about that. A lot to get to. I would gather that you have probably seen a whopping like 2 or 3 hours total of practice with the time you're allotted.
Definitely more than that. It is 30 minutes, not every practice, but 30-minute window for, I would say, just over like 75% of the practices. So definitely more than 2 hours. Enough to make sweeping conclusions and pick every single game with absolute certainty. Not even close, but yeah, we've seen a fair share.
Sean, nice to meet you. I'm Ricky.
I will start.
Or go ahead. I was just going to say, it's kind of hitting on that. With practices kind of changing to a prep week from this kind of just open practice time. Have you noticed anything over? I don't know if there was open time today, but yesterday, anything in terms of the practice changing the way they're running it, or maybe guys getting less or more touches? Have you, to the naked eye, is there anything changing in this week 0 prep?
So this is actually this is kind of a tough week for me in some ways. They only have one open window practice per week allotted, and that was today. And I had a scheduling conflict that was planned well in advance of the open practice window, and I did not see any of the open window. I do know that they have offensively for the last 3 weeks or so, they've been working on their kind of they've been installing stuff for the Montana State game in particular. Going back 2, maybe even 2.5 weeks, they've been walking through certain stuff and kind of referencing Montana State with the defense before practice and all that. So as to the change, I can't speak to it, but I mean, they've definitely gotten a good jump on Montana State.
The depth chart was released yesterday. What stood out most to you?
Definitely. I mean, I asked Bronco about this in the press conference, and I'm looking at it right now. He said, he told me last week that he thought that the backup quarterback competition, they wanted one backup quarterback behind Devin, could spill over into this week. And maybe I was a little surprised that they ended up rolling with Isaiah on the 2 deep. Not because Isaiah can't be the backup quarterback or Isaiah isn't suited to be the backup quarterback, just because it seemed like kind of an abrupt ending. With really just one practice in between, the last time I talked to him. I talked to him on Friday, and then we had the presser on Monday, and they practiced on Saturday. So that was a little bit surprising to me. Definitely at the Buck linebacker spot, you knew that Randolph Kapai had a good camp in a lot of different ways. Guys spoke really highly of him, whether they're players or coaches, and if you watched him, yeah, I mean, he flies to the ball, and he can make plays when he needs to. The fact that he played himself into an oar with Dimitri Johnson, who I thought was honestly going to be one of the unquestioned starters at one of the linebacker spots. I didn't know if it was going to be the Mike or the Buck. The fact that Kapai played himself into it, I thought that was really interesting in a lot of ways. And I think Kapai, interesting story. I mean, he was the number 1 overall recruit out of South Dakota. I don't remember what year. I want to say 2021. Didn't play it down in Nebraska, and now he's kind of poised to, be a starting guy for UNM. So I think that's really interesting in particular. And kind of a similar deal with Sean Miller and Ryan Davis. You knew that that Davis was one of the top 5 receivers on this team, but you didn't know that he was going to play himself into that role or into that kind of oar on the depth chart. So I thought both were pretty interesting. And beyond that, not a ton of major surprises. The practice that we did see and, the interviews that we were able to do, you could kind of glean, a certain sense of how things were going to play out. The secondary as a whole, I will say, I mean, Noah Pola-Gates at boundary corner, Bryson Taylor at field corner and stuff like that. Like that was something that was really tough to get a beat on. And I kind of held back on certain things when writing because I didn't feel confident in reporting where they would be. But I think that is a really interesting element as well, just because of the whole element of cross-training guys in the secondary to play that many different positions.
You've done a really good job in breaking down the units and all the pieces. I'm interested in the defensive line depth. You mentioned that there's some players you wrote about in the past couple of days. And New Mexico struggled last year to get pressure on the quarterback. Ryan and I talked to Gabe Lopez at the Mountain West Conference media days, and he thought they'd be much improved. For what you've seen, what can you tell us about that unit?
Yeah, I mean, you don't know for sure until they go out and play real live football on Saturday, right? We heard kind of the same thing from coaches last year. We feel like we're going to be a more aggressive and more athletic group of defensive linemen that can really rush the passer, and that did not happen. The opposite actually happened. But I totally see the case for it. I mean, if you've ever seen Okiki Olaronfunmi in person, I mean, that is definitely a guy that looks like he can really get after it. Jan Jorgensen, former BYU great, he's now the edges coach here. I mean, he told me that he felt that Okiki could be a Power 4 guy if it wasn't for the fact that he was dealing with all those injuries at Weber State. And so it just seems like it's a good mesh of guys more suited to play those roles in particular in this defense, and it is different from last year. And a good mix of just mixing with kind of the mentality that they're instilling. This is a defense and a staff that really does want to get after the quarterback, and that seems like it's playing out.
Coach Mendenhall's mentioned physicality. It's one of the things he told us at in Las Vegas. Then Montana State's coming to run the ball down New Mexico's throat. There's no question about it. They run the ball a lot. Now again, it's hard to see. The defensive line coach had mentioned in the paper last week, we're here geared to stop the run, play the gaps, do whatever. Again, it's hard to say without seeing them play live football, like you mentioned, but it sounds like some of the guys you've seen at least pass that eye test as far as the physicality part and being able to maybe stop that run, because stopping that run is going to be key on Saturday.
Yeah, and it's tough. And I'll admit that that's probably one of the weaker spots I have in terms of just, evaluating guys on the field and stuff like that. Just because, when it comes to spring practice and fall camp, there's so many ebbs and flows in terms of it's, this day was the offense's day, and then this day was the defense's day and stuff like that. So, I know they feel good about what they have in terms of, defensive tackles and defensive linemen and the interior D-line guys. How deep is it? We're going to see how deep it is. There's some good pieces. I think Keeney is a guy that can be really good. I think Kyler's a guy that can be really good in this defense in particular. So I think you got to taste a little bit of that, but again, it's hard to tell until they get out and they play a really good rushing team like Montana State.
Do you know anything about the defensive lineman, the USC transfer, DeJon Benton? He's not on the roster. Do you have any, update? I don't know what's going on there. I know I'm around as much as you, but do you have any update on that?
Is he not on the roster right now?
He's on the roster, but not on this depth chart.
Yeah. Sorry, excuse me. Not on the depth chart.
Yeah. You made me panic. I was like, oh my God. I thought we were
Sorry.
He's not on the depth chart.
Where I got to check and see who's missing and who's not at this point. But no, he's a guy that Dante Wilkins, the defensive line coach, told me he likes his athleticism, likes his burst, likes the personality he brings to the room. Why he isn't listed on the 2 deep right now, I think that's just more of a testament to the guys in front of him as opposed to DeJon. Scared me, Ryan.
I'm sorry, Sean. I didn't mean to throw you in a loop there. I'm really good at that. I'm sorry about that. I want to throw to some local kids. You've got Luke Wysong and Nick Trujillo. They were named starters. What do you see out of them at camp that separates them from the non-starters? And then I'll ask you about Caleb Medford, because I don't see him on the depth chart, but I think he'll be, unless he's the or. God, man, I'm reading that really bad. I'm doing a terrible job. I'm sorry, Sean. Don't tell me.
So Trujillo is an or with Medford on the depth chart, and I probably should have mentioned this earlier too. I thought this was really interesting as well. You knew that to a certain degree, or I knew, and stuff like that, when you were kind of watching this team, that Medford was always going to have a big role. He brings that deep threat. He's quick in and out of cuts. He does a lot of things really, really well. And he's fast, that he got good ball skills, good catch radius. Like any staff in the country should be able to work with that. And they definitely have. Trujillo was really interesting to me in the sense that he was a guy that I remember last year, you would hear Danny talk like, we got to figure out a way to get Nick Trujillo out there. And it just never really happened. He never caught a pass last season. He did some special team stuff, but he wasn't really a part of the the in-game offense to the degree that maybe they might have hoped. And I think that's kind of on a similar note as earlier. More of a testament to some of the guys in front of him. They were working in, figuring out how they wanted to use DJ Washington, and Jeremiah Hickson was getting a lot of targets. And really, I mean, since spring this year, he's just taken on a bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger role. And he's a guy that's flashed really well in fall camp, to the point where I kind of feel bad in the sense that, I didn't write about him enough during fall camp. And now he is a co-starter right now with Medford. And then Weissong, I mean, look, he's a really concise route runner. He's probably the single fastest receiver in the room. He's physically tough. He's unbelievably strong. He might be pound for pound the strongest guy on the team. Just brings a lot there, and it goes off the field stuff too. I mean, obviously he was the first overall pick in the kind of number draft, number ceremony kind of deal. He's got the coach's respect. He's got the players' respect as well, and that's why he's the captain, and that's why he earned that number first. So. Yeah, I think it's a good mix with both those guys in terms of off-field and on-field stuff as well.
This is just my perception here, or my opinion. Is the wide receiver room, and I might be doing a disservice to the guy that I love, is Andrew Henry. Am I doing you can tell me if I'm wrong, but I think the wide receiving core or room last year was probably the running backs. Are they the most talented room on the repeated room a lot there? Are they the most talented core on this team, you think?
And again, it's tough, right? I mean, we could talk a week from now and I feel like I probably have a way better discussion in some ways. I would still lean running backs more as the most talented, if only because you feel that room just brings a lot of different skill sets to the table. I don't know if there's a lot of running back rooms in this league that have that many guys that can do that many different things and do them that well. Eli Sanders, kind of the freelance back in some ways, just, figure out a hole, keep the play going and just go. Javen Jacobs, the best pass catcher in the room. Soljay Maeva Peters, the guy who provides a bit of both. Andrew Henry, a bit of power there. Just a lot of, different dynamics and skill sets there that, have shown throughout fall camp. And I would give them the edge over the wide receivers for now. But I definitely think there's certainly talent in that wide receiver room.
The interesting thing to me on the depth chart is with Jacobs is actually listed as a wide receiver, and Sanders as the starter, and then actually the transfer from Campbell, Nakari Rogers, is listed as a or at the second back up there with Andrew Henry, our guy. So I think it's going to just be a combination of all when you see all those ors, right? It's just going to be a mix until they solidify. And I think that'll play out, like Sean's saying, after the first 2 to 3 games. I don't think there'll be as many ors a quarter of the way through this season, because those ors will have flattened out to the top performers. But just wanted to give my thoughts there.
Yeah, and I'll add to that too. It's it kind of goes one way or the other, right? You last year fall camp, the depth chart came out right before that first game, or maybe 2 weeks before the first game. I don't remember exactly, and it was a good deal of ors. And then, as we know, last year, injuries happened, and then there were still a bunch of ors going on throughout. On both offense and defense as well. But yeah, and I think one thing that I would also add to that too is just I think the depth chart in terms of its structuring as well will also, the 2 deep, I should say, will change on maybe an opponent by opponent basis in terms of, what guys are more suited to the game plan, both on offense and defense. That's, the one thing that the staff has stressed time and time again is they love versatility, and they feel like they have a lot of versatile guys on both sides of the ball.
I got to ask you this. You mentioned Isaiah Chavez, and you mentioned the abrupt end it came to, and I was reading, I read every article that you write, and there was a sounded like some guys in the room, and Isaiah Chavez there, and at the end, he's named, and the guys talk highly of him. He won 2 games a couple years ago in Las Vegas as a starter. He's probably not the starting guy that's going to hurt you with his arm. He can run a little bit, maybe an 8 to 10 snaps a player a game. Do you see him getting some package that he's going to come in and get some snaps maybe Saturday?
I think Saturday. I don't know for sure. I couldn't tell you Saturday. I do believe that they have a package with Isaiah. When it comes out and when they feel it's suited, I'm not entirely sure. I couldn't speak to that quite yet. It's not a question I've really asked in regards to this week, but I do believe that they have the package for Isaiah.
What do you expect attendance-wise on Saturday? I kind of threw that question at Dave Williams yesterday. Enjoyed talking to him. It was the first time I'd really done that. But what do you I know you're a Michigan man, but August in Albuquerque with dry heat and 2:00 start, even though it is the only game in that window, I mean, what do you expect?
Yeah, you mentioned Dave, and that is the guy that I will be calling tomorrow to get a story on this. I'm aware that season ticket sales are supposedly up. I couldn't tell you what the first game attendance is going to look like until I talk to Dave and kind of get a beat on those figures and get that in a story. Sorry to be a bad guess there and not take a guess. I don't know. We'll see.
I'm a terrible host. I was talking over you and then technical difficulties in Vegas. So I owe you the apology. All right, Sean, I'm going to bust your ball. I'm going to bust your balls about this one. The line opened up at 4.5 and I went to Action Network about 15 minutes ago. Action Network is a consensus. It's 11.5 now. All right. I'm not going to give you such a hard time, but what do you make of the line since we've been in Vegas and its movement? And I'm blown away by an FCS team coming here. I guess it's the uncertainty, but what do you make of it now?
So did Action, and I'll start with this. I remember seeing when we were in Vegas, when the line came out, and I saw 4.5 too. I don't know where it was from because this morning I was looking on Action, and I saw that it opened at 7.5 per them, and then it went up to, and now it was at 10.5
Wow.
when I looked today, and then it went up to 11.5 or whatever it's at now. So I guess in some ways, like I reached out to one of my buddies that works for a book in Vegas, and I reached out to him today, and I said, look, if it was 4.5 and it went up to 10.5 is what I was kind of seeing, like that's a pretty significant swing. That's a touchdown. But the fact that, when I was seeing 7.5 to 10.5, like if that was an NFL game kind of having that action, that's a pretty big deal. A college extra added game with a lower handle than, probably not the lowest handle of any game this weekend, but it's certainly not going to be Florida State, Georgia Tech. That kind of changes things a little bit. It is interesting though. I mean, it's, I don't think I've seen a single person really pick New Mexico in any format, and I haven't really been seeking out those picks in any ways either. And I had a good conversation with the guy that covers Montana State today for our podcast, and he said he was picking Montana State 35-20, and he was just like, well, partially because I just saw the 10 points there, and it's got to be over 10. Yeah, I think it's interesting, and I was trying to find data too. In terms of the last time that a FCS team went on the road and was a double-digit favorite over an FBS team. And the closest thing I could find, this is via Sam Herder, he does a great job of covering the FCS, was like 2013 or 2014. Old Dominion went to Idaho when they were still FBS, and they were 14-point favorites. But Old Dominion was transitioning to FBS at that time, so they were still classified as an FCS, but they weren't like a true FCS. Like, it's really weird, right? You just don't see this. You don't see this spread a lot. Idaho last year, I mean, they destroyed Nevada at Nevada 33-6, but they were only even 5-point favorites there. So I think it is really interesting. I don't know what to make of it. I mean, like, I don't gamble on any of the games I cover, but at the same time, like, I would not touch this game even if I wasn't covering it. I just don't know. And I think a lot of that has to do with just, we know what to expect from Montana State. They're a proven quantity. They're a really successful FCS team. They're a national contender. And we don't totally know what to expect from New Mexico. We know they have talent. We know we've seen some good things. But at the same time, there is a negative to a lot of those, all those good things that we've mentioned in some ways. And we just don't know what version you're going to quite get, and it'll be interesting.
I think that was a very good answer. I appreciate that. Rick or Ed, do you have anything else for Mr. Sean Reider of the Albuquerque Journal?
I don't.
Sean, just wondering, are you going to be traveling with the team this year at away games and stuff like that, or how closely do you follow them?
Yeah, we're going to be doing every game on the road except for Hawaii. If it is a kind of unexpected circumstance, maybe they go into Hawaii and it's a win and you're in for a bowl game. Maybe we find a way to make that happen. But right now we're committed to everything for. Right now, we're committed to everything for now, everything else for now, I should say, in terms of road games. Ryan, you're going to Auburn, right?
I was going to go to U of A, Arizona. Excuse me, I know you corrected me. Arizona. I was going to go to Arizona. I wanted to go to Auburn. I don't know how they're going to go. I still might be in for Arizona because of Labor Day weekend. And a buddy of mine just wanted to go to the game. He and I are going to personally make that decision after we see what is on Saturday. I need some sort of big time college game in my life, but I am already set for UCLA. I helped start this business and we've come a long way in the last year and a half, but I am ready to go. I will be at UCLA, UNM, and then I got my Jersey roots, so I don't have to pay for lodging. I will be at St. John's. That we feel it's not a disrespect to UNM. And I think I've said it on the show. It's not a disrespect to the football team. It's just how we're looking at things objectively right now. For your sake, I hope you get to go to Hawaii, but I am very jealous of you going to Auburn, Alabama.
Yeah.
Are you looking forward to that game?
Looking forward to it. I have, this is boring to people listening to this, but I will say I have absolutely no idea how I'm going to do lodging there. Cause I think I got to fly into Atlanta, stay in Atlanta, and then drive down to Auburn because it's homecoming weekend and you can't get a hotel room anywhere within like 30, 40 minutes. Yeah.
And Sean, if you think that's boring, you haven't listened to us speak very much.
I think Sean probably enjoys he's going to get off the podcast. He's like, God damn it, Ryan. Anyway, lastly, what do you have? Two questions. Why are you wearing the A's hat? I've always wondered that because I love that hat and Rick's in the Bay Area. Secondly, Jonathan Smith, how does the Jonathan Smith era start at your alma mater, Michigan State?
Oh man, I think they open with FAU. It's the regular Friday night game. I'm pretty sure it's that. I don't even know what the spread looks like.
It is.
Yeah. I
it
don't
is
know
Friday night. Go ahead, man. I'm sorry. We're a little lagged, but yeah, it's Florida.
Oh, yeah.
It's Florida Atlantic on Friday, August 30th. Florida Atlantic odds. I mean, are you excited with everything that, oh my God, the name's escaping me. Mel Tucker. But I mean, are you excited for the season? I don't know how much you'll watch, but are you excited?
Yeah, Mel Tucker's definitely a name to forget. No worries about not remembering it. Honestly, I mean, because of the job I have and, the kind of work you do, definitely don't get to watch as much of them as I would like to in some ways. I really don't feel like a fan in a lot of ways. If they're on, they're on. And if they're doing well, they're doing well. Great. If they're doing bad, I probably shut the game off at that point unless there's something that's really interesting to me. But no, I think Jonathan Smith was the absolute right hire, good fit. Really good coaching staff replacing a really bad coaching staff. So you think there's going to be some immediate improvement there. You like Aiden Childs at quarterback, Bellion at tight end. He's really intriguing as well. Really love how what they did at Oregon State in terms of differentiating themselves through their offense with a lot of 12 personnel, and just having a lot of good things to kind of hang their hat on. So I don't know. I have no predictions. It's a Friday night, so I can definitely watch that game. But yeah, should be fun. Just excited for football in general.
Well, that makes everybody, I think, listening, and I can't wait. I'm more excited for college football this season. And I'm a lazy bastard because I haven't put down EA College Football 25. So it doesn't matter how old I get. He is the beat writer for the Albuquerque Journal. I know it's a busy week for you, Sean. I really admire you. I really admire your work. Ed always talks highly of you. Same thing. Thank you for joining us as always. I'll bug you. I won't bug you every week, obviously, but I'll bug you down the stretch just to catch up. Appreciate your time. It's Sean Reider of the Albuquerque Journal.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Sean.
All right, we will take a quick break and get a little bit reaction from him. Then we will be joined by Taylor Martinez of GoBulldogs.com, talking a little bit of Fresno State football. Appreciate Sean there. My name is Ryan Tamori, Ed Nunez, and Rick Thompson.
Richard, our head coach of our local football program, Bronco Mandel.
Details themselves with the right preparation can separate you from mediocre competitors that don't do that. And so, yeah, the attention to detail, I think, drives the execution, or should I say brings the execution to life, especially in critical moments.
Let him cook. Let him cook now. Let him cook. I said let him cook.
All right, welcome back to the Pit Press Live. My name is Ryan Tamori. I'm joined by Ed Nunez and Rick Thompson.
Richard.
I just wanted to play this, or I want to show this comment before we get to our next guest. Ronnie Chavez, ESPN FPI gives UNM a 68% chance to beat Montana State. That's pretty fascinating. We'll talk about that. After our next guest, we are joined by a reporter for GoBulldogs.com. She covers Fresno State. I've bugged her a million times to join me, and she's come on my radio station. She's come on my radio show graciously, and she's joined our podcast, and she's joining us again, all the way from, I guess, the Valley. Rick, you're in the Bay Area. I'm not familiar with Northern or Central California. I like San Diego. We are joined by Taylor Martinez. Taylor, how are you doing tonight? Thank you for joining us.
Good. How are you?
I'm hanging in there. A lot going on in Fresno State. I've had the pleasure of interviewing Jeff Tedford, and he was at Mountain West Conference Media Days, and about 48 hours later retired. It's Tim Skipper. He's fantastic. But what is the overall thought going on at Fresno with Tedford standing down?
Well, I think what's nice is we saw this in the bowl game, right? In the New Mexico Bowl. Tim Skipper did step up because Jeff Tedford needed to have a procedure done. So I would say for the team, there's a lot of familiarity there, and the staff doesn't change very much, and the players really rally around Tim Skipper, and it feels very similar. Obviously, it's not going to be the same as having Jeff Tedford there. He's such a legend, but at the same time, Skip has done such a great job. He's such a pleasant coach to be around, and the guys really love him.
No, it's good to hear. And he did a great, he was fantastic to listen to at the New Mexico Bowl. And for those listening, much appreciated to Fresno State because they beat New Mexico State. I guess I'll start with the offense. I mean, you have a lot of returning pieces, and I'll start at quarterback with Mikey Keene. We've heard a lot about Malachi Nelson. He doesn't get the start at Boise State. Devin Dampier here. The quarterback, whatever it's going to be at UNLV. But you have Mikey Keene, who came in last year and was really, really solid and really played well in the New Mexico Bowl. What do you expect out of him for the Bulldogs this year?
I think Mikey had a great first year, obviously, but I think this year is going to be a big step for him. When he came in last year, he transferred from UCF, and it was a really intense quarterback battle right down to the first game. And even, when Mikey couldn't play for 2 games, Logan started. And I think it's always tough when Mikey comes in younger. He's a transfer. Logan's been here for a couple years. And when we have that intense of a quarterback battle, it's kind of hard to take on that leadership role that comes naturally with being a quarterback, right? Logan has transferred. He's moved on. And Mikey, comes back into this role this year. And I feel like the biggest difference with him is his leadership, especially his vocal leadership, and how he's not afraid, to call people out or to really step into that quarterback role. So I think we can anticipate a big year from Mikey this year.
He's got a couple of wide receivers to throw to. I want to make sure I got the names right. Jalen Moss, who could probably be an all Mountain West Conference player. Yeah. He's got some competition with Torrey Horton and Ricky White III. But talk about the receivers that Mikey Keene has the ability, he can really complement well. If I can ask questions tonight.
Yeah, I think it goes kind of both ways, right, with the running back room and the wide receiver room. When we look to last year, there wasn't a lot of experience there. We had lost so much of our production in both rooms. And then now when you look at both rooms, you have so much experience now, right, which just gives Mikey so many more targets. But Jalen Moss, obviously an all-star, a great player. And then also Josiah Freeman, I feel like he's 6'3", definitely has a lot more of the length, can kind of be like a post-up guy in the end zone. He can do so much because he also has the speed for being so big. And then at the same time, we had 2 transfers come in, Shedden James and Raylan Sharp. I feel like that's just deep, right? Mikey's kind of spoiled for the choice there, really.
That should be a fun offense to watch. And the big – oh, go ahead, Rick.
No, I was just going to say, Taylor, Ricky, nice to meet you. I'm seeing the under-over for Fresno at 7.5 games, opening at Michigan and then having to play against Washington State. Do you think they're going to reach 8 wins this season, or is the ceiling even higher for this team? Should we be looking at conference championships?
I fully expect this team to compete for a conference championship. Definitely. I mean, they get to, right out the gate, test themselves against the national champions. But I like the schedule a lot. I think the schedule favors us in quite a few ways. But yeah, I think, they can accomplish. This team could definitely accomplish a lot.
Coach Tedford was at the Mountain West Conference. Was there any indication that, that he was not going to be able to coach? He was there, intending to
media days, right?
You'd say media days at the media days in Las Vegas. It was any indication that he wasn't feeling well at that time?
No, from what I understand, he kept having his checkups like he always has, and they had been coming up good. And then the one after media days didn't come out so good. So that's when he felt like it was time to step down.
You make it sound like this is a team, though, that was kind of maybe prepared for that, and even in the New Mexico Bowl last year, you make it sound like this team was maybe prepared. Nobody wants to see that, but not a surprise, and they're ready to move forward.
Yeah, definitely. I wouldn't say not a surprise, but I think just having the New Mexico Bowl and it's different than when your coach, just leaves or, your coach gets let go and you get a new head coach. It's, they're so familiar with Skip. He's already coached them. The coaching staff has already filled into these roles once before. So I think it was a much smoother transition.
And I'm seeing
Somebody that we
Malik.
didn't mention.
Go ahead, Tower. I was going to
No,
say
no, dude, that's what I was gonna
Malik
ask. Go right ahead,
Sherrod is expected to be the bell cow at running back. I'm seeing, and Jacob Spencer leading the O line. Can you talk a little bit just about the running game? Are they going to be maybe 2 or 3 running backs splitting the carries with Malik, or is he going to be just the main guy toting the rock?
I think last year, kind of the same, not kind of similar to the wide receiver room, but last year, none of them had even recorded a start. Malik had not recorded a start in a game besides this last year. He had played in a lot of games, but we had Jordan Mims before that. We had Ronnie Rivers before that. So he hadn't started a game yet. So last year was kind of Malik's first year, being the guy. And the other guys in the room got their first chances as well. So I feel like, Malik will, be our guy, but Elijah Gilliam is great. He was basically 100% in short yardage plays. They call him third and Gilliam, literally. But there's so many guys beyond that too. It's quite a stacked room. I think you can see a lot of different people doing a lot of different things. But that's been a big focus because last year we only averaged about 100 yards on the ground. And obviously you want to see that balanced out a little more. So that's been a huge point of emphasis throughout the spring and fall as well.
One of the big names is Corey Foreman. He transferred from USC. He was a number one recruit in the nation, and he was a rotational player at USC. I mean, there's grumblings that I heard at Mountain West Conference Football Media Day that he is probably like a top 10 pick, a top 20 pick. What has he added to a defense that kind of struggled a little bit last year? But what do you know about him, and how is he going to fit into the defense, and how can he be a reckoning in the Mountain West Conference?
Yeah, he actually became, even though we didn't get him out of high school, but he did become the highest rated recruit that we've ever gotten, right? So obviously a lot of talent, and I think he fits in really well. We do have a veteran defensive line. There's so much experience there as well. And I think that matters a lot in the defensive line. When you look at our last 3 games where we were, giving up, around 250 plus yards per game those last 3 games, because our defensive line was really hurt towards the end of the season. So I think we are so much deeper on our D line this year that I think we can kind of sustain, the injuries that come, with the natural flow of the season better than we did last year. But yeah, I think Corey has the potential to be definitely a really big force in the Mountain West.
You mentioned that you think this team can challenge for a Mountain West Conference title. Is there amount of wins that you see this team reaching? Amount of wins that you're predicting?
I never like to give a prediction. Just kind of superstitious. Traveling with the team, but I think that they're going to shock a lot of people. I think that even though we might not have as many of the big names, I guess, we've had in the past, I think we're a lot deeper in a lot of positions than we have been in a while. So I think it's definitely going to be a by the committee type of team in a lot of ways, but I think they have, just as much potential as anyone in the conference to make it to a championship.
Were you shocked that they were picked third? I mean, I know there's a lot of people are high on UNLV and Boise State, and they just always seem to find them. Fresno State seems to always find themselves in the mix as of recently. Were you shocked? Did you think it was going to be lower? Is third, right there where they should be, or did you expect higher? I know I'm throwing that against the wall, but your thoughts on their preseason pick?
Yeah, I mean, it kind of is what it is. I feel, Boise's been picked first quite a bit over the last couple of years, but UNLV also had a great season. Their new coach has done really well with that program. So I wouldn't say I was necessarily surprised. Yeah, I think there's, a lot of competition in Mountain West as well.
We've mentioned the wide receivers. We've mentioned Mikey Keene, the quarterback, Corey Foreman. Are there any other positions that Mountain West fan or college football fan players on this team should look out for? Anybody that's excited you in covering the team in fall camp?
Yeah, definitely. I think the secondary is going to be really, really good. I actually just did the spotlight on the secondary. It went out yesterday, and it's another position where, it's pretty deep for us, in the safety position. Dean Clark, who transferred in last year from Kent State, he's a really good player, and I feel like another year under his belt has been good for him. Same thing with Cameron Braca. They say like he is the worst player to go against in fall camp. He's so competitive, and he's a local kid. So the safety position, but then we also have two backups for them that have performed great. And then at the cornerback, I think kind of an exciting player is Cam Lockridge. He was when we played in the championship in 2022, he was the defensive player of the game in that game, and he sat out last year due to an injury. He played, I think, 4 games, but then he had to get surgery. So he's a really, really exciting player to watch at corner. So I think he'll be fun to watch.
Jake Haener got some action, I think, for the Saints on Sunday. I don't know if you caught that, but I mean, he was a phenomenal player to watch. I got to see him here twice, I think, against UNM, and then no, he was hurt, and then in the New Mexico Bowl. But did you happen to catch that? Is it exciting to see him in the league?
Yeah, definitely. It was really exciting to see him. And also Jordan Mims is playing for the Saints as well right now. So we got to see him do some things in that game as well. And then obviously Derek Carr. So, the Saints are just taking in all the Fresno State players right now. So that's good to see. But it's always great to see the guys, competing in these preseason games and trying to make their teams for sure.
Rick or Ed, do you have any final questions about Fresno State football?
No, Taylor. Hey, good luck to Fresno State. You sound very optimistic. So good luck to the Bulldogs. Good luck.
Taylor, just one question, not about football. What would we be doing in Fresno if we weren't watching Fresno State athletics on a weekend? What would we be doing out there?
Oh man, well, there's a lot of new restaurants in the area. If you find yourself here, definitely check out Anesso. You have to check out Doghouse if you come to a Fresno State game. But I would say another tri-tip sandwich that gets really, really overlooked is Mike's Grill. It's kind of more of a little like hut type thing. It's not necessarily a restaurant, but I do think that their tri-tip sandwich is very much underrated compared to Doghouse, but I would definitely recommend trying that. Yeah, I mean, there's a ton of really good food here, so I definitely recommend, kind of doing a foodie tour.
All right, thank you. Check them out.
She is a reporter for I almost said GoLobos.com there. She's a reporter for GoBulldogs.com. She covers Fresno State. As always, I know I bug you. You've come on my radio show. I mentioned it earlier to talk Fresno State. I really, really appreciate your time, Taylor. You can catch her on GoBulldogs.com. Her name is Taylor Martinez. And we, or at least I, will see you on September. I didn't even say hi to you at Mountain West Media Days. I'm sorry, I was busy. But I will see you on September 21st when Fresno State heads to Albuquerque. And I know you said you and your staff always love coming to Albuquerque. And my best friend, that's sarcasm, Frank Mercogliano. But Taylor, thank you for your time.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks, Taylor.
Appreciate it. Have a good one. That was Taylor Martinez with GoBulldogs.com. I was really happy to get her on. And I think we've checked everybody off the list as far as it goes with Mountain West Conference football teams other than Hawaii and San Jose State. So I've tried once again. Rick, you had mentioned you were talking about quarterbacks in the league, and I think Mikey Keene is up there. The biggest news out of the Mountain West Conference, though, was Boise State, where Malachi Nelson lost the job to Maddox Madsen, and he will be getting the starting job, who I saw play against UNM last year. We've got Devin Dampier in there, Brandon Nicolosi Fowler, Brandon Fowler Nicolosi is at Colorado State. Bet Sulka, Haj Malik Williams at UNLV. Rick, you did a little bit more research. Who do you like out of quarterback in the Mountain West Conference? Who might be your favorite?
Yeah, I'm going to have to go with the Fresno State Bulldog, Mikey Keene. I think he's, returned in some of the most experience in the conference. He proved he can throw the ball downfield last year at a high percentage. But I also like the kid from Hawaii, Braden Shager. I think he's going to be able to do some special things. He's a senior. He has some experience. Hawaii will be playing in a smaller stadium. They won't be at the Aloha Bowl, but they're getting situated there. So I think Hawaii quarterback, and then CSU quarterback Fowler Nicolosi, who I think is an insane person for turning down $600,000. It was reported to take an NIL deal at another school. Look, kid, I'm all for loyalty and all that, but you're not going to get a chance to make $600,000 playing football again in your life. So wherever that school was, I don't know what it was. You probably should have taken it. Nonetheless, he would be my third quarterback there. And then UNLV, I believe Matthew Sluka, the transfer from Holy Cross, beat out a transfer from Campbell, Haj Malik. So UNLV will go with Sluka. But yeah, the biggest news is Boise State, the transfer Malachi Nelson, who they've been hyping up, the national media and local media in Boise for the past few months. He has not won the starting job, and they've pumped everything into saying this guy's going to lead them to the promised land, just to have the 5'10" Maddox Madsen beat him out. So that is big news there, and I think is probably throwing a wrench in some of the thoughts Boise State fans had for their season, catching them a little off guard. But as we go down the list, you got Spencer Petras at Utah State. He's probably in the middle of the pack, and that's where I'd put Devin Dapier, maybe 5 or 6. You know, with the limited experience that he has, I think we're going to have to see if his decision-making is actually sustainable for an entire season. Right, he's probably having to learn a new system. He does have some returning bodies, but some new guys, and the chemistry is going to take time. So I'm going to cautiously put Dampier in the middle of the pack, and the guys at the bottom, I don't even know if these are the right guys, Ryan, but it looks like San Jose State's got Emmett Brown, Wyoming's got Evans Fobata. San Diego State is going to start a freshman, which is surprising, and Danny Neal. Nevada, it's not Chuba Purdy, it's somebody else, and Air Force is John Busha. So I don't think Air Force throws the ball any more than 4 times a game. So it's tough for any Air Force quarterback to really get ranked, right?
I love the Air Force quarterback from like a year or two ago. He was from Franklin Township, New Jersey, which is right outside where my parents are from. And he got a shot with the Giants because Joe Biden changed the policy with the military academy that you could go play football or go play a pro sport. So that was awesome. Chuba Purdy is Brock Purdy's younger brother. I know that Evans Fobata is starting at Wyoming because we talked to oh my God, I forgot his name. Ryan Thornburg. I'm glad everybody can just see me, like my wheels turning up here on live online. He's going to get the start there, and he kind of threw out there that they might be representing the group of 5 in the college football playoff. I know we're going to wrap up the show here shortly, but yeah, I mean, Mikey King, I'm high on Braden Schrager. What forgot his name, and I can't believe I'm doing that. Tommy Chang, head coach there at Hawaii, alma mater, of course, broke a lot of records there. I'm excited to watch him. Yeah, I think Braden Fowler Nicolosi is probably insane, and him and Torrey Horton. The two schools I'm watching out for, and maybe Fresno State, and thanks again to Taylor Martinez, is CSU has Torrey Horton, wide receiver there. Ricky White III at UNLV, and then what Mikey Keene has at Fresno State. So I will let Rick and Ed go, and I'm just going to read some comments and do some housekeeping. But Ed, did you have any final thoughts? Rick, have a good one. I'll talk to you tomorrow.
No, you know what, Ryan? Great interview with Taylor. She does a great job out there with Fresno State. So great job getting these guests in. And yeah, we'll see you guys tomorrow night.
Perfect. All right. I'll let you guys drop. Appreciate Taylor Martinez, GoBulldogs.com, Jared Chester from KRQE and his Jaeger bombs. Sean Reider at the Journal. Love Sean. Young guy. He's done a great job. I wanted to get some of the comments on YouTube and Twitter. Yeah, Silicon Valley. Don't ask me why. Didn't get the geography with California didn't resonate. It's me, Candy Morgan, finally a babe on the show. We did have Shannon Kelly on from Nevada Sportsnet last week. Stephen Dubois got tickets to the game, going to Montana State. Chuba Purdy also lost the starting nod for Nevada. I need to look up who that is. It's probably Braden Lewis. Non-football news, 5-star Symmetry Carr from Oakland has UNM basketball in his Final Five. I think I just saw that. Richard, you have heard. Okay, we'll talk about that possibly tomorrow night. Again, we're full on football mode here on the Pit Press. Appreciate everybody watching tonight. You know, it wouldn't be anything without you guys. So even though I give my listeners a hard time, we really do appreciate you. Again, this is why Eric came to me with this idea, and his marketing and advertising background and whatever you want to call my journalism background. We're credentialed for the season this year. We're excited for that. Didn't think that would be an issue. And that's a story for another time. But again, we appreciate all our listeners. Again, I hope you guys can read this ticket giveaway. We'll be at Turquoise Desert Tap Room on Thursday night with season giveaway, 2 tickets to all 5 home games. It is Montana State, Fresno State, Wyoming Air Force, and Washington State. So looking forward to that. We love Armando over at Turquoise Desert Tap Room. So just an FYI there. And I just want to take a look at the schedule. Yeah, Fresno State, Montana State, Fresno State, Air Force, Wyoming, and Washington State. I got that wrong. Again, September 28th, they're down at Cruces. That November 9th game is now Friday, November 8th. Apparently it's head-to-head with UCLA against UNM in men's basketball. So got that. We will be joined tomorrow night by, and I got to do terrible hosting job here. Nicholas Coppola, who is the new reporter down at the Las Cruces Sun News. Tomorrow night, we're going to be talking some New Mexico State football. And then from 406 Montana Sports, it's got to be Montana, we have probably the same guest that Sean Reider does. He covers Montana State football. His name is Victor Flores. So he will be joining us. We're going to break down that game. And then we'll probably be talking some other, spinning the yarn tomorrow night. I'm going to go back to the comments very quickly. How is UNM an 11-point underdog, but ESPN gives them a 68% chance to win? I don't get it. It's the difference between what is being bet and what money is being put on the game in Las Vegas, as opposed to maybe what analytics ESPN is running. That would be my guess. But that's what's being bet. So people are putting big money on not only Montana State, but they're betting them a lot. That's why that line is jumping. That's what the sharps think. The professional sports gamblers think that is going to happen. They don't trust UNM at all. Again, I spin a lot of yarn on this show and I talk a lot of shit about UNM, but I also tried to call it as I sees it. And I believe that there is no way in the world Montana State is 11.5 points better than UNM. I got it at 10. Just throwing that out there. I think that is insanity. But we shall find out on Saturday with 4 days left until the game. 2:00 FS1, by the way. Sure, there's tickets still available. I think Sean Ryder mentioned that season tickets are not. They've cut that off, and I didn't keep up with that. So to our listeners, I apologize for that. Gonna thank Jared Chester, Sean Ryder again, Taylor Martinez from GoBulldogs.com. She covers Fresno State. All the people that listen, the spiel at the end. Follow us on Twitter if you haven't already. Excuse me, X, the artist formerly known as Twitter, at the Pit Press NM, and it doesn't change for Instagram at the Pit Press NM. Email, check out our website at thepitpressnm.com. We're trying to add more to that site. Email us at thepitpressnm@gmail.com. Jimmy H has, and a couple other people have. We appreciate that. I got a few more comments before I sign off here. If that goes down, how much do you see it going down? Nice. Can't wait to hear it, Richard. I'm not sure what you mean for that. I have some research on Carr for tomorrow. Okay, perfect. There you go. Sorry, I didn't see that. So Rick does a good job of that. If it goes down, how much do you see it going down? Are you referring to the the Montana State UNM line? I mean, if people start betting UNM, it's going to drop a point or two. If people continue to bet Montana State, there are 5 days left until this game. I mean, 4.5, 5 games, 4 days, 3.5 days till this game. Realistically, that line could jump up to 12, 12.5, 13. I think we'd be bonkers if it was 13.5. But yeah, it could jump up for Montana State. It could dive. I mean, if you look at the Super Bowl from the last 2 years, it was like Kansas City plus a point, plus half a point, then 1. I got Kansas City at like a point. If you're going to give me Patrick Mahomes and that team points, I'm taking it. But yeah, it's mind-boggling. One of the things that I wanted to mention with Ed on, and I didn't, and we'll hit on it earlier, what Bronco Mendenhall is poised with is taking over a team that has won 19 games over the past 7 seasons. And I do want to thank Frank Mercogliano for this in his game notes. Put that into consideration. They've won 19 games over the last 7 seasons, and it's in last 19 seasons. 19 games in the last 7 seasons. They've won 16 games in 2015 and 2016 when they went to a bowl game. Stephen DuBois, my prediction is Montana State 52, Lobos 38. And we are also going to run an EA College Football 25 simulation, so look out for that. Rick and I are going to do that. But we will be coming back to you live tomorrow night. We'll be 8 o'clock. Then we'll be live at Turquoise Desert Tap Room on Thursday night. That show will start at 7. So for those of you that do watch us, and again, check out our UNM football pregame show that is dedicated to, the Morning Howl, which is a UNM football pregame show dedicated to all things college football and predominantly UNM, live during the college football season on this channel, 9 a.m. Mountain Time. Appreciate everybody listening. Thanks to, once again, Jared Chester from KRQE, Sean Reider from the Albuquerque Journal, Taylor Martinez from GoBulldogs.com, Ed Nunez, a Lobo football fan since 1970, the voice of the Western New Mexico Mustangs, and not to be confused with Eddie Nunez, who just departed for the University of Houston, the former UNM athletic director, and Rick Thompson. Eric, great job as always with the visuals. Appreciate it. Hope I didn't stink hosting the show too much. And I got to give a shout out to my main man,
Miguel Sanchez.
Don't know where you're at. Talk to you tomorrow night. Everybody have a fantastic rest of your Tuesday night and have a great Wednesday. Talk to you.
Our head coach of our Lobo football program, Bronco Mendenhall.
The details themselves with the right preparation can separate you from mediocre competitors that don't do that. And so, yeah, the attention to detail, I think, drives the execution, or should I say brings the execution to life, especially in critical moments.
What?